Just in, Chelsea have, in principle, agreed a deal to sign Granit Xhaka from Sunderland. Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. I don't even know where to start. This one's wild. Chelsea's stealth window is activated again, this time with the deal that we're going to sign Granit Xhaka from Sunderland. I absolutely did not see this one coming. Right, so we've got a couple of snippets of news, and then I've thrown together some of his stats from last season just to take a basic look at what we're looking at, so let's get into it. Florian Plettenberg got the exclusive on this one, and he tweeted as such: exclusive detail, Granit Xhaka and Chelsea have already reached a full verbal agreement over a transfer. Personal terms have been fully agreed. Chelsea are already in contact with Sunderland. Xabi Alonso is pushing hard to sign Xhaka, post Blick and various English media outlets at Sky Sports DE. Mind blown a little bit. So look, we're going to get into another couple of the more, of the other tweets in a second, but just my initial reaction to this. The first thing I think about is, right, okay, so there's two things in tandem that I think about with this. The first one, he's 33 years old. Blueco have signed a 33-year-old man to add to our first team. That's the first one. The second one is that this is obviously a Xabi Alonso signing, right? Being that, they obviously won that league together, and there's also potentially other implications about the style of play and stuff as well, that Xabi Alonso may well be trying to recreate that team to an extent here at Chelsea. About an hour and a half before Florian Plettenberg went live with that piece of news, Transfer News Live posted this: Chelsea have submitted an opening bid of 30 million euros for Granit Xhaka as they step up their pursuit of the Sunderland midfielder. New manager Xabi Alonso has personally requested the signing, with the Blues now making their first formal move. The pair enjoyed a successful period together at Bayer Leverkusen, and that's putting it lightly. Invincible double, anyone? So, £30 million, it's like 25 million quid in and around. He's got, so he's 33, so that, it may seem like a lot, but he's got 2 years left on his deal. Sorry, I think his deal his contract is until the 30th of June 2028. So I think there's loads, so many my brain is fried. I literally could not, this one has really knocked me off my feet. So the implications are a bit wild. Like I said earlier, it's a Xabi Alonso signing. It absolutely has to be. Blueco have said this for a few years, that if the right target and an older player arrives in the market, they'll look at it. Signing a 33-year-old player is not one for the future. They are not buying Granit Xhaka in order to be able to go, we'll raise him up and sell him on in a few years. They're buying Granit Xhaka right now for Xabi Alonso because, and I've been saying this for ages, man likes a deep-lying distributor in midfield. Now, the other implication about this is if this is the midfield signing for the season, because if it is, then all of a sudden, the likes of Adam Wharton, maybe that isn't even going to happen. Maybe that's off. Because, Granit, that's the role. That's the Granit Xhaka role. The Granit Xhaka role is stay in midfield, spray the ball about, connect play, facilitate attacks. We're going to get into a couple of his stats later. Granit Xhaka is not scoring and he's getting a decent amount of assists, but not a huge amount. He only got 2 goals and 4 assists, I think, in the Invincible season. But he was still absolutely integral to the way that they played. And he also, to be fair to him, was absolutely integral in Sunderland's rise from the Championship to the upper mid-table of the Premier League, which in itself was wild. So the thing is, we're talking about a Premier League experienced player. Obviously, his time at Arsenal was, probably, that's why he wants to come back to London, I would assume, because of his time at Arsenal. Mate, this is just absolutely wild, isn't it? Now, the Arsenal thing was a bit crazy because he was kind of like the villain and the hero. It was a bit of a pantomime thing going on, and then obviously he left and went to Bayer Leverkusen, absolutely smashed it with Xabi Alonso when they won the league together. He's come to Sunderland, back to the Premier League with Sunderland, and he's done really well there at 32 to 33 years old, because he was bought at the beginning of last season. At the end of the day, it's not like he's been here for a while, been back here for a while, sorry, should I say. He literally came back at the start of last season and has been absolutely instrumental to the way that Sunderland have been playing their football. A couple of content creators, I think it was Boovy on the club, said that at one point that he was the best signing in Premier League history. Maybe not quite that much, but at the same time, it's undeniable what a massive impact Granit Xhaka was able to have at his age in in that midfield for Sunderland this season. And the ramifications tactically, if you look at the signing of Marco Palestra, he's a right wing back for sure. Like, he can play right back and, he can play other positions, but he played 30 odd times for Cagliari last season at right wing back. We're going in for Maxence Lacroix potentially, and we're also looking at Jacobo Ramon, so we're looking to get more centre backs in, even though we've already got a lot, which tells you we might need a few more than just to fill 2 spaces. And now we're going for Granit Xhaka, who was absolutely key and integral to Xabi Alonso's style of football at Bayer Leverkusen, being that deep line distributor. So it all just points towards the 3 at the back thing now, doesn't it, for me, to be completely honest. Although, albeit, I can't remember exactly how Sunderland played, to be fair, so I'll need to look into that a little bit more. Although I know they gave us a rough time. They beat us once in the season, I remember, actually, because the video kicked off a little bit and I had some really, really good chats with Sunderland fans in the comments. 30 million euros for Granit Xhaka. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Fabrizio Romano has also piped up. He was a little bit late to the party, but he posted this. Breaking: Granit Xhaka can be Chelsea's surprise signing in midfield. The midfielder wants to rejoin Xabi Alonso and has expressed desire to return to London, accepting any contract condition just to join CFC, reunite with Xabi and go back to London. Deal on. So another interesting thing about the way this has been phrased from Fabrizio Romano, it doesn't sound like he's going to come in and demand an absolutely massive wage. I'll be interested to see if he's at least on the same that he's on at Sunderland, or maybe just a little bit more. But it doesn't sound like he's making the move because he really, really wants a payday at the end of the day. It sounds like that he wants to play football with Xabi Alonso. Obviously played his best football ever under Xabi Alonso. He wants to move back to London because he spent a long time at Arsenal, so he might have some roots, some friends or something here at least, or at least he just loves the city. And he's quite happy to join Chelsea to make it happen. It's weird, isn't it? Because normally the Arsenal to Chelsea route or Chelsea to Arsenal route or whatever, because normally buying old players, that's what Arsenal do from us, isn't it? And I know this is not directly, there's been 2 clubs in between, but we're getting an ex-Arsenal player who's come to retire at Chelsea by the looks of it. Absolutely wild, man. This is literally blown my mind. Like I say, one thing I really want to get your guys' opinion on is, if Granit Xhaka is the signing, would you be happy with that? Or do you think this is an experienced option and we might go in still for an Adam Morton as well? Because if you think about Granit Xhaka, the closest we've got to Granit Xhaka in our squad right now is Romeo Lavia. So maybe there exists some world where we keep Romeo Lavia. Granit Xhaka is the first teamer for the season at least, and then Romeo Lavia plays himself back into fitness, but regardless, you've still got that deep line distributor. Or is it going to be a case of, he's nothing like the rest of our midfielders, man. Andre Santos is not like that. Obviously, Moises Caicedo is not like that. Dario Asugo is not like that. Enzo Fernandez, when he plays in midfield, he hasn't really been like that because he's always bombing on and trying to get attacks. Look, whether I think Granit Xhaka is the answer to the question, I don't know. But what I will say is, I have been saying this for a while now, I feel like it, at the very least, is more the kind of player we need in our midfield, right? Because my issue with Enzo Fernandez, his qualities, albeit he has good qualities from the deeper from deeper in midfield, not all of the time, right? He will start as a 6 like he did under Maresca, but that was almost just so he could bomb on and get forward. And for the majority of the back half of the season, he'd been playing at number 10 for us. So even though Maresca was starting him in a deep line position, because we were doing the inverted fullback midfielder thing, he was always getting into that half space number 10 anyway. So if we do, even if we kept Enzo Fernandez, I wouldn't expect him to play in a deep line midfield position for Xabi Alonso, because he's always thinking about getting forward, right? But Granit Xhaka, that's absolutely not his game. He will have Moises Caicedo running around and mopping up and ball winning and being aggressive in that respect, and he will be a string puller, a dictator at the end of the day. That's what he did so well at Bayer Leverkusen when they won the double together, and I would need to look into it a little bit more, but I would assume that's kind of what he's been doing at Sunderland as well. So speaking of Granit Xhaka's time at Sunderland, let's just sidle over to a few statistics. I'm going to do it, if this goes through, we'll do a deep dive on it, but we're going to take a little look at Granit Xhaka's season at Sunderland last year and just the basics of it, right? So Granit Xhaka, Swiss international, contract at Sunderland until the 30th of June 2028, so he's still got 2 years left on his deal. He will turn 34 in September. So literally as the season starts, or just after the season starts, he's going to be 34. That's absolutely wild. So, instantly with the age as well, is he coming in to be the first teamer, or is he actually coming in to be a backup? And we do still go for an Adam Wharton, like kind of the opposite to what I was saying earlier. The many permutations are wild. Sorry, it's so hot in my office, man. I'm absolutely sweating. He's a midfielder. He's 185 centimetres and he is left-footed. For Sunderland last season, he made 34 appearances and started 32 times, which is impressive. And obviously they did really well. He played 85 minutes per game as well. So in the most part, he was playing the full 90. And he made the team of the week 4 times. Like, I don't think we've got anyone that made team of the week 4 times. Maybe João Pedro, not absolutely sure, but I'd have to look into that as well. But even so, a 32, 33-year-old Granit Xhaka playing for a promoted Sunderland who did amazingly well last season, and he got into the team of the week 4 times over the season. Like, that's wild, isn't it? That's crazy. In the 25-26 season for Sunderland, Granit Xhaka scored 1 goal and got 6 assists, and all of them were in the Premier League. He played twice in the FA Cup, but didn't manage either time. His overall SOFA score rating is 7.3, which is really, really good. Anyone over a green is a good player, essentially. And he got a 7.33 in the Premier League, and obviously in his 2 appearances in the FA Cup, he didn't score an assist, but he got 7.55. So he played really well in those games. I assume they didn't go very far into the FA Cup. Then we've got his heat map. Man's everywhere. Man's absolutely everywhere, which is crazy because, again, he's 32. You don't think of him as like the most athletic kind of midfielder or whatever, but he is getting around and he is obviously pulling the strings from lots of different places on the pitch, albeit never getting into the box. Well, not never, but in general, he's not venturing much further past that line, right? And that's kind of the opposite from Enzo Fernandez, isn't it? Enzo Fernandez will be trying to get into those attacking positions all the time, but Granit Xhaka gets past the halfway line, the third quarter in an attacking sense, and then he stops, and then he's just like, right, I'm just going to stay here now. If the ball comes to me, I'll be looking to get it to the people in front of me. So we're not going to be looking at Granit Xhaka bombing forward into the box and trying to score goals and stuff. He's going to distribute, he's going to pull strings and dictate the play, which is really interesting. The other slightly interesting thing there, big dark red spot on the right hand corner flag in the opposition half. That means that he was taking their right sided corners, which makes sense because he's left footed and he's got a good pass on him. So 1 goal and 6 assists from a deep line midfielder is kind of what you expect, to be honest. Like, the thing that, my conversation about Enzo Fernandez, not to make this all about him obviously, is that it's amazing that Enzo Fernandez has got such good output, but it also belies what you would normally expect from a deep line midfielder, and ultimately it puts more pressure on the likes of Moises Caicedo. When we've got the, Malagusto becoming a midfielder and all this, that and the other. Xabi Alonso is maybe, it's looking more and more like now, like I say, that we're just going to be doing that 3 at the back thing, because you look at Palestra, who we've bought, you look at Maxi Araujo, who we're being linked to from the left wing back as well. These are byline guys. These are byline attacking wingers at the end of the day, and it just seems like he's going to try and recreate that kind of, because he obviously had Grimaldo and Frimpong, who were super, super, super important to the way that he played. And now he's literally gone and got the guy in Granit Xhaka. Granit Xhaka, this is so wild. Absolutely wild. He redeemed himself at the end of his Arsenal career at the end of the day, didn't he? Because there was that whole thing where he took the captain's armband off and threw it on the floor. And had a bit of a to-do with the Arsenal fans and stuff, and then obviously kind of redeemed himself over time, and then, that sort of in and around that moment seems to be kind of the making of him, because then he went on to do phenomenally well at Bayer Leverkusen. Like I say, as things develop, I'll do a bit more of a deep dive into kind of how that went, and, what he looked like at Leverkusen versus what he looked like at Sunderland, and maybe what we can expect from him. But the big question for me now, at the moment, is what does this mean for our midfield? Because Granit Xhaka is, bar Romeo Lavia, he's the only midfielder of this profile that we've got. So that means we're changing that role, kind of like we are with Palestra. Actually, Palestra's kind of a similar story. Palestra ultimately is a lot more of an attacking player than Malagusto is. So it looks like we're changing the profile of that right-sided wing-back / full-back in order to be wider and more attacking rather than inverting and getting into the midfield all the time. You look at the midfielders that we've got at the moment, they're all very athletic, energetic, but none of them are deep-lying distributors apart from Romeo Lavia. But Romeo Lavia, obviously, fitness is obviously the huge thing, isn't it? And we're not really going to know about that. See, this does lead me to believe now that we're probably definitely going to keep Romeo Lavia around. Because he kind of fits this profile as well. But now what I'm absolutely fascinated to find out is, are we going to go for another midfielder at 34 years old? Don't get me wrong, and Granit Xhaka, unbelievable last season for Sunderland, absolutely brilliant, and was in his 30s when he was doing it at Leverkusen for Alonso as well. Do we trust putting a player of that age to... Anyway, did he play 34 games last season, man? There's no reason to think that he wouldn't. I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point. It just makes sense, doesn't it? But it's interesting, and I really want to know what you guys think. I would be disappointed if we didn't go in for Adam Wharton, because I have this feeling if we don't, someone else will. But what Granit Xhaka does is gives you a buffer of having that profile, maybe allowing Romeo Lavia to kind of be the backup for that, in the same way that Dario Asugo very much looks like he's a similar profile to Caicedo, and we keep the same sorts of profiles, right? So, you know, if Moses Caicedo can't play and Dario Asugo is fit, then you'd probably play Dario Asugo there. And what does it say about Reece James as well? Like, obviously Reece James has gotten injured again, hasn't he? Which is like a massive thing. Like, another really interesting question, because obviously we're getting a right wing back. That's not really Reece James's position. We've gone in for a Granit Xhaka. Does that mean, you know, Reece James gets more time in midfield as well as that deep line distributor, or is he now just going to be that right centre-back role? So many questions. Every single time we get more information, it poses more questions. It's absolutely fascinating. This one is wild, though. Absolutely wild. So, guys, let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about Granit Xhaka to Chelsea, how we feel about it. Like I said at the beginning, I think the two most important things about this piece of news are it's a Xabi Alonso backed signing, right? Paul Stewart and Lawrence Winstanley haven't come out and gone, do you know what this team needs? A 33-year-old Granit Xhaka. They will hate this. This will be Xabi Alonso and Dave Fallows. And what he will have as well is the experience, the leadership, an older, like someone to calm things down a little bit. He'll be able to be a voice in the dressing room. He's a winner. And, you know, he literally undefeated season, and he would have been a huge part of that as well. He's got captain experience at various teams. He's an international. He plays for Switzerland when they are playing as well. He's a lot of the things that we are just missing in our midfield at the moment. It's just wild that he's going to be 34 in about 2 months. So, guys, get your thoughts in the comments, man. I absolutely can't wait to see what you've all got to say about this one. But we've signed a player that's over the age of 22, 23. Do you know what I mean? With Palestra, it was a little bit like, okay, we're just going for the young'uns again. Nope, absolutely not. Granit Xhaka's 33, nearly 34 years old, and Xabi Alonso's being backed. So is there a conversation to be had about Bluecoat are in fact giving Xabi Alonso the keys to the castle? And if there were some guys out there doubting that Xabi Alonso wasn't going to be backed and he wasn't going to be supported, and the sporting directors were still going to just fill the team with loads of inexperienced children, I don't know. It's crazy, man. Like I say, if this was just like Granit Xhaka from Bayer Leverkusen, maybe I'd be a little bit more like, oh, I don't know, because at this kind of age, is he going to be able to translate that back to the Premier League, which is really, really intense? But he literally played for Sunderland last season and was amazing. So, you know, it is what it is. Nice one, guys. I'm going to wrap the video up there. Thank you very much for sticking around until the end if you did, and I will catch up with you very, very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace. Oh, mate, I'm so sweaty. I'm so sorry. It's absolutely disgusting.